Let's go again. Welcome, everyone, to Augment Ventures Expert Series. Augment Ventures is an early-stage investor in mission-driven, diverse founders transforming foundational industries, making them productive and sustainable. In today's episode, we have Don Hicks, who's going to share with us his journey, his vision, and how from vision he realized his two startups, LlamaSoft and Optilogic. Don, thank you so much for making time for us. You have a fascinating background and a fascinating journey. You've had great success with LlamaSoft, and today you are founder and CEO at Optilogic. To begin with, it would be great to just get a little bit preview of your background and how you got to Optilogic.
Sure. First, let me say thanks for having me. It's great to be a guest here. And, it's a long, twisty journey. And unfortunately, we don't have the 8 hours or so required to kind of go through the entire thing. I guess the journey that's got me here to be CEO of Optilogic, I think that the thing that'll be most interesting to folks is probably why am I not retired? It's a question that comes up frequently with my direct reports. What am I still doing here? I'll rewind the clock a little bit for everybody for some context. Back in 1998 or so, I had started up a company called LlamaSoft, and I did it really with a very specific product vision in mind. I had been working in computer software and computer simulation. So I used to try to help people use simulation modeling to solve problems and solve business problems. And I really liked the applications for simulation for logistics and supply chain problems that involve time, variability, uncertainty, highly dynamic and complex environments. Simulation was a great tool to help decision makers, people that are running these really complicated global supply chains. They really didn't have a way to test things out before changes out before they would roll them on out and mess with the real world. And if you get things wrong in supply chain, things go wrong really, really badly, and everybody notices. It's a cliche now, but it was still a bit of an epiphany back then. If you want to make a change and you test something out and your hypothesis doesn't work, your factory runs out of raw materials, you stop producing, your trucks go to the wrong place, your customers don't get their boxes. Things are noticeable. And it has made supply chain and logistics management more conservative, more reluctant to take risks. So back in 1998, I thought, hey, I do computer simulation. Why don't we steer it into making this supply chain specific simulation? And I started LlamaSoft as a one-person company and sat down and coded it. And I thought, I should have this done in about a year, maybe 2 years max. It's about 20 years later when we started to have a version that I thought would kind of work okay. And I through that journey of growth with LlamaSoft, which we can dig into if you want, by the time 20 years had gone by, LlamaSoft was about a 500-person company. And, you could say it was wildly successful, and I'd agree with you. But at the same time, we were just hitting our stride, just in many ways trying to we were finally solving some problems the way we wanted to. But it had been a long journey, and nobody should be CEO of anything for 20 years. I think 5 years is probably your expiration date. They ought to have like the president of Mexico, they ought to term you out after about 5 years and get rid of you. CEOs and fish all start to smell bad after 5 years. That's the way to think of it.
Yeah, but, you would know that, yeah.
Yeah. So back in 2017 into 2018, I did a nice transaction that I thought served a lot of people's interests. My shareholders, I thought I thought the company was going to be in good hands, and I took a break and headed on out. And then a lot of things changed over that next several years. I'll set aside what happened to LlamaSoft, and we all know that about the pandemic suddenly showing up. And for me, I had taken some time, and then I started up a company called Optilogic with a very specific for kind of two reasons. The first reason was I love operations research.
Mm-hmm.
My college degree was operations research. People are still shocked to hear that the stuff I did when I was a sophomore in college is still the stuff I do today. And I got really, really lucky with my choice of field and the fact that the field chose me. So I wanted to do more back in 2018, 2019. So I started Optilogic because I loved OR. And it was a very product-driven idea, just like LlamaSoft was, that I knew that there was a need for OR and systems engineering developers to have a solution that they could develop and test new engines and new approaches to problem solving. We call that the development problem. I don't want to have to set up a workstation. I'd love it if I could just dial in, log into my account, and then have a provisioned workspace to do all this cool development work. And then there's a deployment problem, which is when I make a engine to solve a problem, how do I plug that into other apps? And I don't want to be sending out files. I don't want to have to do installs. Why don't we make it that it is a completely cloud-based solver? So that's what we tried to do with Optilogic, and we took a couple of years and we did it. And I thought, great, this is a fun lifestyle company where it's really driven by passion and just trying to have some fun with it. And for me, fun means being useful to other humans. So we did all of that stuff. And we launched that product in the middle of the pandemic, and we were working away with stuff. We discovered that Bitcoin miners really liked our environment, so we had to find ways to get them off the platform. And then in the meantime, sort of over here on the other side, LlamaSoft, which had become the supply chain design leader in that field, largely imploded. It got acquired by a public company that didn't really know what it was buying, and they didn't know how to manage it. And they also had a lot of problems internally that they never quite got over. And the main thing is they never made the jump to cloud. They really didn't. Slapping a web interface on enterprise software does not make it a cloud-based app. And the advantages of cloud-based apps have continued to accumulate and accrue. And they were really dragged by the past. They couldn't get over it. So when LlamaSoft kind of did its swan dive, off the 25th floor and hit the pavement, right in the middle of the pandemic, there was this huge need for supply chain design and analysis, and the leader committed Harry and was gone.
Yeah. So
I really, it's the opposite of strategy and the opposite of vision. Mm-hmm. My Optilogic journey is neither of those things. Mm-hmm. My Optilogic journey is I love making great technology with teams that are having fun. And then also opportunistically seeing that there was a need in the marketplace to come in with a full cloud-based solution for supply chain design and analysis. And what I had, and my team and I had built at Optilogic was a platform to do exactly that kind of thing. So it was really a bit of destiny had opened a door and was pointing at it, saying, you guys have the right solution for the next 20 years. Are you just going to hang out and have fun, or are you going to rise to the occasion? And honestly, I did not want to rise to the occasion. I wanted to hang out and have fun. But the employees that had been laid off and were leaving Coupa LlamaSoft in droves, they needed a great place to work. They were getting cynical. They'd been beat up from, quite frankly, incompetent bad management and bad leadership or non-existent leadership. Some customers were even contacting me saying, are you guys can you help me with this problem? When customers are calling you, you really got to be uncaring to not be affected by that. And then the last part was investors as well. I did start looking into the marketplace for investors. I got talking to you at Augment. We've had a great relationship. You've been one of my trusted advisors, and Augment has been played such a positive role for us over the years. The investors were saying yes. The customers had a huge need. The employees and the talent were there. The market opportunity was there. The fact is, I wasn't supposed to be retired. Optilogic was supposed to go do this. So for the last couple of years, we pivoted, built up a new 100% cloud-based version of supply chain design, which we actually just slotted it on the platform I had built anyways. And we took it to the marketplace a little over a year ago. So we launched it in November of 2022. So it's been a year and about 3 months or so that we've had that product in the marketplace. And it's been hugely gratifying to see the response and the acceptance and the uptake from customers. But it's not that hard. I mean, if everybody's telling you they want to buy a product from you, that's pretty good market evidence that your product's going to be okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, I guess the last part of the journey, or that I'll fill in here, is that it's been, you'd think it would be super easy, like shooting fish in a barrel, because we're just doing the same thing, right? Same marketplace, everything else. You know what? When there are people involved, it's hard. There's no secret for managing carbon-based units that are doing their thing. I really get the appeal of AI, because it'd be awesome to just let the algorithms take over. But no secret for managing carbon-based units that are doing their thing. I really get the appeal of AI, because it'd be awesome to just let the algorithms take over. But technology and software is a people business. If you went into technology and you want to be successful and you think I like being in tech because I don't want to have to deal with people, you made a mistake. You got it wrong. It's a people business. There's Absolutely. No escape.
Yeah, in fact, you teed up perfectly the next question. It's of course, the LlamaSoft journey for both you and I were fascinating. There were many ups and downs. Yeah. There were many times there were challenging situations at LlamaSoft where we thought, good Lord, this quarter is a disaster. What are we going to do next quarter, right? But we went through all of that and we got a positive outcome for it. And now you're at Optilogic. So the point that you actually just touched in the end, that you think it should be simple, you've gone through it, you have sort of team cohesion, the pain points, you have the solution, you have a better solution, better product, which is more visible, it's more traceable, it's cloud-based. Adaptability and resilience, right, Don? I mean, I was just wondering, how has your experience at LlamaSoft, again, it grew up to be, God, how many 500 odd people were working there, right? From where you started as a solo entrepreneur. Yeah. And so I was just wondering, how is that influencing or maybe some things that you're not doing at Optilogic to make it more resilient and, sort of avoid some of the pitfalls that we had to go through the journey at LlamaSoft. I was just wondering, anything that's influenced you?
One of the, when you've made enough mistakes, you've got a nice data bank that you can draw on. Right. And, the biggest thing is I'll dare to say out loud, I'm more aware of my own blind spots and weaknesses, as well as you start to see how teams screw things up. Have you ever seen those demotivator posters? Right. Yeah. One of my favorite ones is this says, teamwork. None of us is as incompetent as all of us. And the fact is, we get a false sense of security from getting a team of really smart people in a room. Yeah. Often the ideas that come out of there are idiotic and completely wrong. But we all agree, so we go and do those things. And then also, once we've made these decisions and the team has agreed, we go execute on it, and we never really go back and say, oops. Yeah. And so you start to tune into some of these things. And one of the biggest things I picked up over the LlamaSoft years is how teams are unaware of the expertise they don't have. Almost never do you have a VP who says, gee, I don't know how to do that, and I don't think anyone on my team knows how to do that. I need to look at the broader community and go get that expertise. And it sneaks up on you. It's little things,
Yeah.
localization or a certain security protocol or some area or a new algorithm.
Right.
And people just, your team, if they're go-getters, they pretty much want to just tackle it.
Yeah.
And there's parts that they are experts in, but then other parts they really don't know.
Yeah.
And that's true about you as a leader, and it's true of your teams. As a leader, we don't we're expected to know everything. People want to know that you're never shocked and that you never you can't be like, gee, I had no idea. I don't even know anything about this field. And it's become
Right.
really, really important.
Yeah.
That kind of intellectual humility, it runs against the notion of the charismatic alpha chief executive.
Right.
And this is one of the pluses, by the way, when you think about archetypes of leadership. One of the stories going on in tech right now is that alpha male idea of the strong charismatic CEO. Is that an old model? And I tend to think that this area is one of those where, and I'll just play into the cliches, but it's been my experience. Female executives tend to be much more collaborative, more willing to show vulnerability, more willing to say, I don't know about this. And in this environment now, that is a real strength. And so for you male CEO types who want to go out there and be right about everything, you really, really, really need to learn from these other folks who will say, I don't think anybody knows about this. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're all competent people, but we don't have the right expertise. We need that person in the boat. That set of skills is something that I feel like it took me 20 years of being CEO of Llamasoft to figure out. I have a lot of stuff I don't know anything about.
No, I
And
think,
I
Don, I
start
would
with
say
that, and that's an unfair advantage in a startup.
absolutely. And I would say that I think you did a wonderful job of having women leadership at Llamasoft and here even at Optilogic. And again, bringing this diverse thought and, the point of recognizing that, hey, we need outside expertise. And that's how you're building out that team. That is kudos to you. And I think the team at Optilogic is, A1, quite honestly. And as I know, you guys are executing. So that's exciting. And the product, I mean, you can see the love people are feeling for the product, more than, we can say that the team is good and doing all this thing. I think it's the feedback that you get from your customers, which is remarkable, right? I mean, that is going to keep you or get you to that number one spot. This gets me to this next question, Don, which you also mentioned that this is a people's business, right? Of course, there's tremendous amount of talk about AI being part of everything and, how it's going to impact. But I know even at Llamasoft and even now here at Optilogic, we pay a fair amount on customer success, right? So I was just wondering if you would just share a few thoughts with us on customer success. How do you, in your mind, think about customer success, and what do you share with your team to make sure that the customer is delighted?
Yeah. Well, this at the core of it, the issue with customer success, it's the same issue with entrepreneurial success, the same framework, which is a bit of a Zen Buddhist paradox. Okay, they used to have, if anybody is familiar with the concept of a koan, a Zen Buddhist sort of riddle or puzzle you're supposed to solve. That, like, does the dog have a Buddha nature?
Yeah.
And what's the sound of one hand clapping? And you're like, what the hell does that even mean? And you're supposed to puzzle over this for years and years and years, and then you never resolve it. And the customer success puzzle is the same puzzle as the puzzle of success entrepreneurially, and it's the following. Is customer success a stepping stone to achieving your goals? Is it? Do you do customer success? Do you focus on customer success because you're afraid of losing their revenue? I mean, most of your executives will say, yes, of course, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
But they're wrong about that. The reason that you focus on customer success has nothing to do with the positive impact of customer success. The reason you focus on customer success is because if your customers buy from you and they're not happy, you're a jerk off. You're a loser. You are not aiming high enough. Smart people who have been privileged enough to get into these wonderful exec jobs where you've got a company. The reason to deliver great customer success and focus on customers being happy is because it is a joy to be of service. It is not a means to an end. You don't do it so you can protect against eroding margins and eroding retention. You do it because you should be proud of everything you do in your life.
Right.
And if you have customers that are unhappy with this product or this service, or they're just unsuccessful with it, you can't be proud of that. If you're doing it to achieve financial results, you'll never have the right spirit. And you know, I got the motto right 10 years ago. I used to have a little stock speech with at Lamasoft, and people would say, well, what's the mission? I would say, what's the mission of customer success? And people would say all of these things and all these metrics driven things. And I say, no, the mission of customer success is customer success. That's it. You're doing it because it's the right thing to do. And the more that you try to treat it as some argument, some stepping stone, the more wrong you get it. There is no next with that. You do customer success because you want to be proud of what you do. And when people are serving customers, you know, we are so obsessed with measuring performance and hitting these metrics. We miss the simplest point, which is a happy customer makes you feel great about how you've spent that portion of your life. There is no next step. And here's the paradox, Sonali.
Right.
If you are aiming just to deliver customer success because it's the right thing to do, you get all of these positive things that happen. But if you're aiming for the positive things, you're actually looking at customer success the wrong way.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Don.
I want to connect this with the entrepreneurial side, because entrepreneurs really struggle with this one. People are often so goal driven. I want to make the money. I want to be successful. I want to, as I've seen in other executives, I want to fill the empty black spot where my heart should be. And I want to shovel it with success and recognition. And I want to be the CEO. And so they go after starting these companies for all of these reasons, for the money, for the fame, to alleviate the existential terror of mortality, all of these things. And the fact is, the more you aim for the stuff, the less likely you are to get it. At Optilogic, you know, the real question would be, why the hell am I even doing this? And now one answer is because everybody's got to work. You got to do something with productive time. At Optilogic, we are serving the supply chain design community because we can, and because it feels good to deliver things to customers, to have them happy, to have your employees have a great place to work. You're not doing it because it will deliver an investor return. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry about this. The way to get customer return, investor returns and financial success is to let go of your need for those things.
Right. Focus
on the fundamentals of serving people, of being truthful, of having a nice work environment. You do that, you're already in the top 10% of all companies.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the paradox is you're much more likely to get a big financial outcome someday. You don't know what it is. And the Zen Buddhist part of this is that by the time that happens, you're completely ambivalent. You don't care if you had a financial success because you know you did wonderful things with your company.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
that's the paradox.
I 100% agree. And, I think I also recommend for most of my portfolio companies, when they are talking about customer success, Don, exactly like you. I think the only metrics I think I will push to them is churn. Churn means that you did not make your customer successful. It's not about, anything else. It's about making your customer successful. That product that you have delivered to them is useful in the work that they're doing. So from a customer standpoint, whether they needed education, whether they needed service, they needed more resource, like what, as our company, we did not serve our customers when we first realized that they had the need. So I totally
So
agree with you on this, that, it is sort of, if you just focus on churn, you're not doing your job. Your job as a custom service leader is to make sure that they are successful in the task that it was supposed to help them with.
yeah, I'm on board with this one. You have to measure these things because you can't not measure them.
Yeah.
But teams take an overly simplified view of this. And I've seen it happen when you focus on a number.
Yeah.
That number is a number on a page in a report that gets sent to other people. And teams will have a tendency to then say, how can I tweak that number? How can I change that number on that page? How can I put a Band-Aid on it? How can I make a side agreement and kick that can down the road? If all I care about is that churn number that gets reported, then I'm going to do things like massive discounting. Or over time, when the pressure gets piled on from unscrupulous and unwise senior executives, they beat their team up harder. I mean, that was part of the Coupa Lamasoft story, is the senior executives would go over there and beat their teams up on the head to move the number, move the needle by tweaking that number. And eventually you get dysfunctional, unethical behavior, because people are so obsessed with moving that number, but they're missing the whole point. You don't care about the churn number. You care about churn. You care that it should really bother you that customer didn't have a good experience with you, and you do it because you can change that. And then if you aim at that, your churn numbers will change. This goes all the way back. People in the engineering and tech world, is the answer when you're taking these classes and when you're studying, is the goal to get an A or to get a high grade on your report or to ace a test? Or is your goal knowledge? They're correlated, but they are not the same. There are lots of ways to get an A on a test, to get a number on a report, to get your quarterly number up temporarily. One of the other ways to do it is improve your business, improve your activities, and the numbers will move. So you have to obsess even more than you do about customer success and churn and losses. But not because of the numbers, but because it's the right thing to do. And the numbers will move. And I count myself as an investor now, and we as investors have to be really careful when we focus on that number. I've been in these meetings where we're like, hey, can you explain the miss on the quarterly number? I'm like, as an investor, I see the report too. I'm like, yeah, you said you were going to do, 1.2 million and you got 1.1 million. What explains the miss? But it's really the wrong way to look at it. It's, tell me the narrative. What's actually going on? Maybe it's the planning number that was wrong. And this understanding about the difference between plans and reality, and what it looks like through some numbers, and what's the real story. Boy, that is that's so deep right there.
Yes. Don, that's fascinating. And over the years we have learned how you said in planning, what is your starting point, what was the basis or assumptions of your plan, and what got executed, how did the market change, right? And what were the other forces that were acting on the performance of the company? So all of these things are important. That gets me to my next question, Don, which is around supply chain, right? I mean, when we invested 10 years ago in Lamasoft, or 12 odd years ago in Lamasoft, supply chain, when I was seriously doing my diligence, people were saying, what tool, supply chain design tool that people use in the back office? And fast forward now, if you go to a grocery store and you ask, where are the apples? And he'll wave his hand and say supply chain. So supply chain has come really at the front end, and that was your vision when we chatted with you many, many years ago, is that it's the core for decision making for any organization when they are making any sort of planning decisions about building their stuff, moving their stuff, stocking their stuff. It was really important, right? So I was just wondering, if you would share with us, in your journey, in your experience, how supply chain and supply chain design in particular has evolved, number one. And number two, how do you think about Optilogic as sort of one of the critical, important pieces in really making sure that we have a robust and a resilient supply chain?
Yeah, well, I'm still learning about this one. I'll talk about it in this paradigm in the supply chain context, and then we can pivot it to life, because it's the same thing. There have been many trends in supply chain technology over the last 10 to 20 years. One of them is that an understanding of the different pillars of supply chain management. Okay, and supply chain management, you've got supply chain operations, you've got people driving trucks, you got people picking stock out of warehouses. There's all these things that you do as a business. Supply chain management is all the processes, people, and technology that manages all this stuff. And when we first got into the marketplace and really saw where LlamaSoft's role was, historically they had talked about planning and execution as the two pillars of supply chain management. Planning being decision making, and execution being doing putting the decisions out, monitoring them, and responding to changes. And we carved out a third pillar, which we called design, because what we saw was that there were some decisions that are repetitive and that are all these planning decisions sometimes are daily, weekly, monthly, but there are other decisions that we called strategic decisions, very long-term decisions, moving a facility around. It didn't feel like the same kind of decision that you make on a daily basis. And we took all of those things and we said, well, that's actually a third pillar, so that supply chain management consists not of two, but three pillars: design, planning, and execution. And what that did was it set up design to be much more important than it had been before. It had been treated as an afterthought and just a little thin sliver of your planning decisions. But I'm going to come back to this in a second about how important design is. Since that time, since LlamaSoft carved out and really helped create a third pillar, on the other side of the house, planning and execution, which is where most of the money is and most of the technology is in the supply chain space, planning and execution have gotten closer and closer and closer and closer together. And as execution monitors data in real time, and as the enterprise information landscape has gotten better over the years, you can take these planning decisions and make them more real time. You can use actual data from across different systems, and planning and execution have been getting stitched together for quite a long time. Now, the other part about that is that sets you up. If data is changing all the time rapidly, right, how do you keep making better and better, faster planning decisions? And we've gotten to the point where planning algorithms have been historically pretty inflexible. The emergence of machine learning and AI technologies I look at it as an alternative modeling technology. It's a new engine type. And the beautiful thing about these AI technologies is you don't have to train them. You don't have to model them yourself. It's data-driven models. Using these AI techniques and using a different conception of what data is, these algorithms learn themselves how to respond and how to tune this up. So planning and execution continue to get closer, but you don't have to redo your planning algorithms. You can automate the updating of planning and execution. And I think this trend is going to continue. I think when I think about control systems and I think about AI and ML will continue to be pushed into every aspect of running and continually making new decisions, quick decisions about the millions of decisions that have to be done in the enterprise. It makes perfect sense that you would do that because the robots and the algorithms can go much faster and much more efficient than humans trying to do this at a slower pace.
Yes.
So I think this is going to continue. And I think of it, whether or not you're talking about a car or a plane, self-driving systems, that's what we're talking about. Planning and execution become the software for driving your vehicle, driving your supply chain.
Right.
However, self-driving algorithms, self-driving technology, planning and execution driven by AI is never going to tell you where you should be driving towards. They cannot tell you your goal. They cannot tell you if you're driving the right car. They can't tell you you're going to the wrong place to achieve your goals of happiness or financial success or whatever. They will self-drive in the direction you, the human, tell it.
Yeah.
This is the same thing with supply chain. I don't believe AI ML will have any replacement. It cannot replace design. It cannot tell you what the design of your supply chain is because your supply chain is your business. And I think it can help you drive faster and more efficiently and take over for you. But if you're not careful, if you're not in charge still, AI ML is going to say, oh, I'm going to happily drive off this cliff and crash. Right. Because that's the pattern. That's what we're doing. Design is becoming more and more and more important. Design is where you make the compromise. You make the decision about what am I trying to achieve with the supply chain? What's my balance of service and financial performance and risk? And I deal myself a set of cards. I set up strategy. And then I hand it to my management organization to use AI and ML to go off in this direction and make lots and lots of decisions. I cannot give up responsibility for identity and objectives and strategy. And I think where we're going with this is more and more and more time spent on the human side, thinking about where we're trying to go from a strategy standpoint, getting out in front of things and looking at the environment about stuff that hasn't happened yet.
Absolutely.
And pattern recognition is worse than useless. It makes you feel unjustifiably confident because it's always going to extrapolate. It's always going to be based on past data. But the past only tells you so much about the future, right?
Exactly.
Strategy means stuff I haven't done before. Design means what's the network I should be moving toward? What's the market I'm not in or the products I'm not making? Where are customers going to be in the future? And these are not indicated by past data. MLAI is exactly wrong for future-based design and strategy decisions. It can help you get there much faster and it can fly the plane or drive the car while you're doing it. But you, the human, have to figure out where the hell you're going.
Exactly. You're putting the parameters.
If you think about it, why is AI and ML so uniquely well suited to this time and place? It's because we're more, I think most executives really understand managing people is really freaking hard. And wouldn't it be nice if I could just get rid of them all and turn it over to the algorithms? I can get rid of my planners. I can get rid of all my trouble, the trouble that I have with people. And, that promise, it's like it's a magic elixir. It's a silver bullet. It's the holy grail of, if I could just get rid of all the people, things will run smoothly.
Yeah,
and AI offers you that,
right?
But I want to tell you, tell the people listening, you can't take that shortcut. There is no escape. You have to get back to the fundamentals of leading and managing people and thinking for yourself and being wise. All these algorithms will help you get there faster, but it's just an illusion to think that the algorithms are going to do better than, that getting rid of people is a good idea. No, you have to commit to managing and leading people.
Absolutely. I think the way I think about supply chain design is like it's sort of a center for truth, right? I mean, everything flows out of it, right? Whether you're planning or your execution part. And so when you sort of think about supply chain design in that fashion, and that is the center for truth for your data, for your planning, and for your execution, it can be a very powerful solution. I think that's sort of the vision. And so I think AI and ML, all techniques to whether getting the data into your design environment sooner, faster, and then taking it out from there and delivering to various stakeholders from execution. I think that's where I sort of think about it, is that, hey, we need this part to be very, very, easy for people to work with and build various scenarios and so on and so forth. How is the input coming and how is the output going after that exercise? That's where, AI and ML and additional co-pilots and, all those kind of stuff that can have, and it's a lot longer discussion. Probably, Don, we would like to have a session with you just on supply chain. I mean, there's so many fascinating stuff. I mean, you think about data, right? I mean, data is running out, and you and I have chatted many times about how it is so important to have data to really train these models and create new things. So
Sure.
it's a fascinating topic.
Yeah, I agree that warrants its own discussion. I did promise you I would connect supply chain design with life, and so I'm gonna hit that one thing up.
Yeah.
At the core of it, we spend our lives trying to doing two things: trying to make the best of our situation, but also trying to change our situation. This paradigm for supply chain is all these companies are trying to make the very best of it. They're trying to optimize their resources. They're trying to run more efficiently. It's great. This is a great use for AI and ML technologies, making the best of your current network.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not considering, you have to cut off the scope of your decisions. Okay, you're making the best. I've got to run today. I got to run really hard. I got to do what I can with my current system. But sometimes you got to change the game. We work so hard to win the game we're playing. We don't end up picking up our heads and saying, how do I change the game? Maybe I should be in this other game. Mm-hmm. You can't plan and execute aggressively, make the best of your current situation, and then at the same time, question that situation. That discipline of, in life, trying to make the best of your current situation, optimize your schedule, do this. I've got this college degree and I've got this work situation. I'm going to really work hard and make the best of it. And yet often in fact, I might even say nearly always, the breakthroughs happen from taking a step back and say, am I even playing the right game? Am I living in the right place? Am I in the right career? Did I marry the right person? These are big. Are my kids going to the right school? Should I have kids at all? These are the big questions. And people in life, the more we go, we get focused and we restrict ourselves to making the best of the situation we're in. Stepping out and questioning the design that you've dealt yourself, that you're operating in. It is evolutionarily a requirement to survive in multiple tumultuous times, throughout multiple environmental change. We tune ourselves to our environment, and then we don't sit and think about, maybe I should put myself in a different environment entirely. That's called design. Redesigning your life is a really, really important thing. You're like, shoot, I've been trying to get this promotion and I'm working hard here. Maybe I should really question working. I should go back to school. Maybe I shouldn't even be in this field, because am I trying to make money or am I trying to have a happy life and a fulfilled life? That's a design decision. That's a design view. And we're all much better off if we take that step back and really see, am I in the right situation? Maybe if I just change this assumption, question this, or change this, now I've dealt myself an entirely different situation. And that's going to be better for all my micro decisions. In supply chain, we talk about you are limited, your efficiency frontier. You can only make the best out of the supply chain you have. But big breakthroughs come from redesign. it's the same thing with life. You make the best decisions that you can, you make the best of it, but often pulling back and seeing it for what it is and making the big change, that redesign can unlock ideas and ways to live that you simply can't get to by running harder, working harder, or playing by the current rules. And that issue of looking at today and then opening up for tomorrow, it's for business, it's for life.
Thank you, Don. This is a perfect ending. And also on a personal note, thank you. Oftentimes you and I have chatted and you have helped me sort of, get away from this focus and look beyond. So I appreciate your friendship and guidance in that as well. And of course, and the thoughts that you've shared with our listeners today. So Don, really, really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.